Good. Okay, let's offer some prayers to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Guraya Vishnu Guraya Bhutale. Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline. Nivastisha Sunyavhari Pashtatara Satarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hope you don't mind a change of scenery. I've changed my background. I'm now sitting looking out the window. So you can see Lord Nrsingadev.
Oh yes, it's Nrsingadev.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so we are, anyone can remember what the subject of the chapter is now?
Wasn't it Bhav Sankalpa, emotions, right? We were talking about emotions.
That's it, yeah, emotion. Maharaj has titled it the Sankalpa of Bhava-Seva. So Maharaj is speaking about we have Chestarupa, which is the engagement of the self, the senses in the service of the Lord. And then, but there has to be an accompanying emotion that goes with it, and that's called Bhava-Seva. So the underlying mood, which Maharaj has mentioned and will bring out more for our practice, is one of wanting to attain perfection, of wanting to obtain Krishna. So Vipalamba, separation. So, but as we're picking up the reading today, Maharaj is going to remind us that from the very beginning, we've gone forward in our Krishna consciousness based on an emotion. Yeah, so he's going to take us through the stages of Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Shakti, and obviously Bhava, which is full of emotion. Yeah, he's going to describe to remind us that actually already we've been through different developments of emotion in our determination in Krishna consciousness. All right. So
yeah,
that's
because you were saying something about chanting with emotions.
Yeah, chanting with the specific emotion of wanting to obtain Krishna. And then ultimately, the ultimate emotion is love. Yeah, the ultimate emotion is love to to varying degrees. So, in other words, ultimately, to desire Krishna means to love Krishna, because you're desiring to be with the beloved. You know, you desire the beloved hankers to be with the lover, hankers to be with the beloved. Very interesting. So should we begin on that? Should we begin reading then? I guess comes Mother Roger Kishore, Hare Krishna. I guess Chandravali, you're the only one with the textbook. We can both read together. You can read and I can read like that. So everyone's with us. Mother Lavangalatika, Nitai Mata, Radha Shamsuna, Mother Vishalni, an exclusive group with us. Exclusive group.
Old age, can't even read now, even with glasses.
Okay, so top of 653, the beginning of spiritual life.
Okay. Do you want me to read or do you want to read first?
I can go first if you want. Okay. The beginning of spiritual life is unknown piety. Agnata Sukriti. Remember we studied that in Sudha Bhakti Chintamani, wasn't it? Yeah. Unknowingly, a devotee renders service. And because bhakti begets bhakti, bhakti sanjayata bhakti, yeah. By an emotion such as curiosity, he will connect further with Krishna consciousness. So Maharaj has mentioned the first stage, then he links that up with an emotion. The emotion of curiosity. All right. So the next emotion after that is faith. Faith is the next emotion, followed by the feeling of belonging to the company of devotees, sadhu sangha. Yeah. Along with practice comes many challenges, anartha nivritti, throughout which a devotee experiences a host of emotions. Yeah. It's amazing, actually. Everything is accompanied with an emotion, isn't it?
Mhm.
Only if you're a robot, if you're an AI, or if you're a robot where you have no emotions. Yeah, there be some emotions for everything that we do. Foremost of which is the conviction that he is doing the right thing, so that emotion. And through all this, faith is felt, belonging is felt, conviction is felt, all as an emotion. Finally, a devotee becomes steady, nishta, in both active and emotional service, the latter being a sense of duty. Yeah. And when he reaches taste, ruchi, and attachment, a shakti, bhava rupa becomes the helmsman of chesta rupa. All right, you follow that?
No,
Bhava,
no, I don't, because it's Chester Rupa. What is that?
yeah, I think we just touched on that just before you tuned in, Mother.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But basically, chesta rupa is the engagement of the senses, or what's seen to be done by the devotee. Yeah, so the external manifest. So that at bhava rupa, it becomes everything that a devotee does is full of loving devotion. Yeah, so bhava rupa, the form of emotion, overrides everything that is there to a very strong degree in everything that a devotee does.
Okay, thank
Now,
you.
it doesn't mean that the devotee is having an emotional breakdown and it's
Thanks.
shedding tears, and it's not exactly that, but there's feeling there. There's feeling of appreciation for Krishna when one is dressing Krishna, making garlands, cooking for Krishna. Yeah, it comes with an accompaniment emotion of affection for Krishna. Yeah. So Bhava Rupa becomes the helmsman of Chesta Rupa. We all on board so far? Following? Yeah. This is so much more true of the Raganuga Sadhaka, who will have been inspired by emotions of eagerness or greed at even earlier stages of practice. Okay. So this means someone who's reading, who's false for enthusiasm, is the emotions, the mood of the residents in Vrindavan. Yeah. So they want to emulate those, they are inspired by those moods and they want to emulate those moods. Yeah. As Mara said, inspired by emotions of eagerness. So that may come at even earlier, that may be there at earlier stages, even at Nishta. Okay, if you've got any questions or anything, please unmute and shout away.
It's understandable, but it's quite a lot in one paragraph.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to slow down a bit and try and explain it a little bit.
Like you're going through all the stages, and
Yeah.
you, as we saying it, it's like a Shakti, Nishta, this, that, which
Yeah.
you are going through these emotions, but try and fit it in like a little space. It's
Yeah. So Marge, what he's doing, he's giving a purple of the different stages, and in regards to different stages of emotion. So he's emphasizing how important it is that emotions are there in spiritual life. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking like it's like when we're reading it, it's like a lot to digest and fit. But
Yeah.
say if we carry on like this, in a few years' time, you read this, what Maharaj has written, and you think, oh, yes. It's like, you understanding it more.
Yeah. Or as we advance, then
Yeah,
we will experience what's being described, and then we can know that we're on the right path, that we're coming, and then we can feel encouraged, Oh, because what I'm feeling is what Mirage was, that's what we were speaking about. So I'm now feeling this. So that gives you great encouragement, Yeah. So and once divine grace gives the sadhaka entrance into ecstatic devotion, that's bhava, his mind is saturated by transcendental emotion. Okay. So before that, the emotions are not completely transcendental. They're somewhat materially tainted. But above it, then emotions are transcendental. Its effects permeate the body. So it affects the physical body. Bhava kind of surges throughout the whole body. In summary, Bhava Rupa both exists and is important, even though it is not much emphasized in a society of regulated devotees. Okay. So generally it's not, because there's this fear of this, I guess, justified fear of sahaja. We're told you shouldn't imitate the residents of Vrindavan. You shouldn't imitate the emotions of the residents of Vrindavan, which is true. But that sometimes causes us to be fearful of any emotion at all. But Maharaj's make no, actually. Yeah, it's the point. It's not much emphasized, but it plays an important role. Indeed, it is regrettable that we sometimes hear neophyte devotees regulating appears, so that's an equal, valid feelings as sentimentalism, or even worse. So that means worse would be just being a sahaja.
Can I just
Yeah.
ask? So what Maharaj is saying about emotions, right?
Yeah.
That you kind of also, you do feel it. Like Maharaj is saying, you don't bring them up, you don't speak about it, right?
No, he's not. Well, he's not. Well, that will.
In
He's not
general.
exactly saying that. He's not exactly saying that. I mean, that's to be understood. Devotees in general, that they will keep their devotional attainments kind of within their heart. But more what he's describing here, sometimes, say with relatively young devotees, they may feel devotionally inspired at some point in their practice. And then they express that to someone else. And then that someone else may just say, oh, you're just being sentimental, Prabhu. But it might not. They might be experiencing a real an emotion, which is a part of spiritual practice. But it may, oh, don't be sentimental, or you're just a sahaja.
Or
Yeah.
could it be like you could be feeling it, but you could say, I am not qualified for that kind of feelings, or I'm not,
Yeah. Illustrated. And yet our acharyas stress the cultivation of emotions. As we shall see, excuse me, Srila Prabhupada gives great emphasis to devotees cultivating the feeling of separation from Krishna. What else is that but Bhava Rupa? Indeed, Srila Prabhupada concludes that his followers' ability to succeed in sadhana hinges on their ability to enter the mood of separation. That mood of feeling may first be activated by the mind, vocalized by the tongue, and further expressed through engagement of the working centers. But Bhava-Seva must arise. Either it already begins with emotion, or expressions of separation awaken it. But emotion must be incorporated into Nam Sankirtan for it to be called effective sadhana. All right. I guess no one has the book, so it might be a little bit difficult to follow if you're not reading through it. But any questions from anyone else out there? You following? Okay, let's read on. To better understand what we mean by Bhava-Seva in general, let us take the success formula for bhakti given by Rupa Goswami. So this is, quote, nectar of instruction, okay? Utsaham nishtayat dhayat tattakama pavatanat sangat chagat sanga chagat tato vritte satbir bhakti prasiddhyate. Quote, there are 6 principles favorable to execution of pure devotional service: being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So now Maharaj is going to highlight the emotion aspect of this verse. Yeah. In this verse, the first 3 principles are features of emotion. So the first 3 are being enthusiastic, being confident, and being patient. Yeah. And the latter 3 are a combination of emotion and action. The bottom line is that properly guided emotions are needed for spiritual success. Properly guided emotions. Emotion is the life of activity, and bhakti is not lifeless. It is full of life. It is life. Let us examine the first symptoms of success: enthusiasm, utsaha. It is an emotion. Some people are enthusiastic by nature, others not. In either case, a devotee must be enthusiastic. How does a devotee become enthusiastic or increase his enthusiasm? Srila Prabhupada says, the more you engage yourself in the service of the Lord, the more you become enthusiastic. And the more they hear and talk, the more they become enthusiastic to hear. Looking at the etymology of enthusiasm, Oxford English Dictionary says that it comes from the Greek enthusiasmos, which based on the root theos, or God, and translates as possessed by a God inspired. So to be God inspired. A good definition to keep in mind. Unfortunately, the word currently has more secular usage, but still means intense and eager enjoyment, interest, or approval. Okay? So here we see that the first principle of spiritual success is based on emotion. And so are other aspects of sadhana that constitute bhava rupa. After all, bhakti means the emotion of love. Rupa Goswami defines the devotional love of Krishna's associates in this way. Quote, Ishte swarashiki raga paramavishtata bhavat tanmaye yat bhavat bhakti shashta ragatmika kodita. Quote, When one becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his natural inclination to love is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord. That is called transcendental attachment. And devotional service according to that attachment is called ragatmika, or spontaneous devotional service. Unquote. In this definition, we find that the emotion of deep attachment is the primary characteristic of loving devotion, and the activity of absorption in thoughts of or service to him is the marginal characteristic. In the realm of spontaneous love, Bhava-Rupa dominates over Chesta-Rupa. Okay. Sometimes, I think, at least in my experience, I guess as a brahmachari in the temple, as a brahmachari, since sometimes what happens when devotees join Krishna consciousness, they're coming with emotions, they're coming with emotional attachment to a matter, like sensual emotion, it may be, for example. So then they get trained and they're told that these are unfavorable, you know. So therefore they deny, or they try to do, or they do away, or they try not let those, they guard against those emotions. Yeah. But then the mistake is to then become, or to not recognize any emotion whatsoever, and the practice becomes quite mechanical. That's in the beginning, that they're kind of in the beginning, one has different anarthas which give rise to different emotions that are not favorable. There may be the emotion of sensuality, maybe the emotion of envy, maybe the emotion of anger. So they get told, no, you can't have that emotion. You can't, no. So then they can end up thinking that, okay, spiritual life means you shouldn't have no emotions. You get the problem. I guess it's more of a problem with men more than ladies. I think ladies are naturally function on more emotional, but men, so they can be quite unemotional, which sometimes helps. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, I've seen that some devotees have become completely. I've seen the brahmacharis, like young brahmacharis, they're completely, I won't mention names, but I've seen in the past where they become completely, they don't show emotion to anyone, because they're trying to suppress their material emotions. So they think any emotion they have is wrong. So I mean, there was one devotee, even to get a smile out of him was very difficult. Very difficult, even to enter into a relationship with other brahmacharis where they experience emotion. They wouldn't do. Just lock themselves inside themselves, and ultimately it's unhealthy, and ultimately it can lead to serious problems. I've seen that. I mean, at the moment, I would say the brahmachari ashram's quite good. They have quite a friendly rapport. The what's called the pumpkin gang with the bright sound, all the young brahmacharis. They have quite good rapport with each other often. Sometimes it's a bit, for some liking, it's a bit too much sometimes during Tulsi Puja. But anyway, I'm going off the track a bit. But yes, so emotions play a role in our spiritual development, and we shouldn't negate all emotions. So some emotions we have to develop. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
this question of brahmacharya, it could be even brahmachari.
Brahmacharini, yeah, brahmacharini as well. Yeah, also they can sing.
Yeah, so I was thinking that when they get into that role, brahmachari or brahmacharinis, and then they just become, right, I need to be serious, I shouldn't talk this, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't that. Do they then have no emotions? Is that the way to go forward? Like you become so sincere
Oh,
in your
no,
Krishna.
yeah, I mean, no, but side by side, we have to develop. We have to develop the what's that pretty style? What's that second verse of the different levels of Krishna consciousness? Quoted the other day. What's that? Um, anyway, we have side by side that we have to develop the emotion of affection for Vaishnavas.
Yeah, like going out preaching, being in association of community, coming
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
temple.
Yeah. I was thinking, Prabhu,
yeah, please.
for everything that you have to renounce, say you have to renounce your material attachments, there's a positive aspect to everything. So if you have like anger and you're trying to suppress it, then you should channel that energy into the positive in Krishna consciousness. Like, you could, I don't know how you can channel your anger in the
Well, you could,
ashram, but it might be difficult. But you could find a way of channeling that in a positive way instead of suppressing it, because like you say, repression and suppression, it just puts a lid on it, but after some time it comes out again.
yeah, and it tends to come out in not so good ways. But no,
Intense ways.
yeah, thank you, Maluanga. You reminded me of Narottam Das Thakur. He speaks in his bhajan specifically about engaging emotions. For instance, he gives the example of anger is Hanuman. Yeah, he engaged his emotion of anger and destroyed Lanka. So yeah, that's the correct that's the correct.
I mean, you could feel like, yes, I'm waging war on Maya, so this is where I'm channeling that energy.
Yeah, so I'm angry at the atheist. I'm angry at the mundane scientists. I'm going to distribute books because I think what they're doing is bad and they're leading society astray. So you take that emotion in a positive way. Okay, you don't do what Hanuman did and try and burn down the Houses of Parliament. You might get in trouble if you try to. Hanuman burnt Lanka, so I'm going to go burn down the Houses of Parliament. Then you might end up like Guy Fawkes. But yeah. So thank you, Mabalavanga. You've kind of taken it and it's a correct conclusion. Yes.
Yeah. And also relationships, maybe, you can't talk to the brahmacharinis or you can't, but if you just change, if you stop thinking you can't do that, but if you just see everybody as a servant of Krishna, then you actually, you shouldn't really have any problem. You just got to try and, switch your consciousness around to something else.
Yes, got to switch over. We've got to take our emotions in the right direction in a Krishna conscious manner. Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool. I can remember when I first joined, one of the significant things that convinced me to stay in the ashram when I first joined is it was a festival, and Mahajuti Maharaj now, he organized a gulab jamun eating contest in the VIP room. And how we did it, devotees were sitting there and other devotees had to throw the gulab jamuns in the air and they had to catch it in their mouth. But they had their hands behind their back. So there was and I'd say I've never laughed so much in my life. I've never laughed. I've never had such a wonderful, funny, exciting time. Because here was all these devotees who I would see chanting japa and quite serious dispositions. Then seeing them in this outrageous, the gulab jamuns were hitting the wall, all the syrups going down the wall and going on the floor. Everyone was just, at the point everyone was in a great ecstasy of laughter and emotions. And I really, wow, I thought, wow, everything is here. This is so fun. I'm not missing anything out there, you know? So that was, yeah, I remember that. Sorry, I cut someone off. I think Mama shouldn't have.
No, I was just thinking how, like, when you first become brahmacharis, you kind of become so stiff, you know.
Yeah.
And
Because they
then,
have to, because they're trying all
yeah,
these,
yeah. And then they
well, they
do
don't have to, but
quieten
they
down.
do.
Hmm. Then they kind of mellow down and they
Yeah,
know
then they
with
get
things.
more confidence in themselves. In
I remember there was a, I won't mention his name, but one brahmachari, he just became brahmachari. And you know me, I was talking to Dalmore and I just went like this, tapped him on his shoulder or something, and he just went so stiff. So Dalmore said to him, "It's okay, it's only mother," you know. So it's like, yeah, that they become so stiff, you know,
yeah,
even if you talk to them. But after a bit, they mellow down when
yeah,
they know that you're doing and you're talking to them about this, that, whatever, and then they normal.
yeah. All right. Anybody else out there? Okay. Mata's quiet today. She must be just listening. Hare Krishna. Okay. Let's read. You can read, Mother. You can carry on reading.
I thought it was nice the way you was reading gently. And are you tired?
Okay, I can do if you like. I can if you like. I don't know.
Yeah, for everybody, because it'd be nice the way of reading, because they don't have the book and it's a
All right,
difficult.
I just read. Yeah, this is my 5th Zoom engagement today.
Really?
Yeah, but at least this one is about preaching Krishna consciousness. I've been on other Zoom management stuff. So anyway, that's why I'm reading a bit slowly.
I can read if you're tired, but I
It's
would like
okay. It's
to
okay
read.
as long as if I read slow. Similarly, of the 26 qualities of a Vaishnava, many, like being mild, humble, and compassionate, are aspects of the emotional state. Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu encourages the sadhaka to reveal his emotions to Krishna in the form of prayers and entreaties. Okay, nice, isn't it? We can express our emotions to Krishna in the form of prayers. Revealing one's heart both mentally and verbally is a regulation of Vaidhi Bhakti. Okay. And offering prayers is an injunction of Nava Anga Bhakti. Yeah, the 9 Angas of Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. Such entreaties are characteristic of the devotee at practice and at ecstasy. So it's not just for devotees at the stage of bhava. Rupa Goswami writes, quote, the wise have explained that there are various types of entreaties, that another word for prayers to Krishna, or calling out, such as prayers, admission of incompetence, and expressions of longing. Unquote. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that sampratana are prayers from a devotee who has not attained the stage of bhava, while lalasa statements are from one who has. So these are two. Lalasa is like when you read prayers on Nautam Das Goswami. Oh Radha, oh Krishna, when will I anoint your limbs with chandawood? When will I fan you? When will I gently massage your feet? When, oh when will that day be mine? That's desiring, that's lalasa, desiring some perfectional engagement, you know? Then the other one is desiring overall to be Krishna conscious. We will conclude by reiterating that sadhana bhakti means the cultivation of emotion. So sadhana bhakti, okay? And that's what we're doing. Sadhana bhakti means the cultivation of emotion. Bhava-Seva. This cultivation of emotion, specifically the emotion of what's going to come next, if one doesn't have the book, specifically the emotion of, someone can say, Raj Kishore, Vishalni, Radhashyama Nitai Mata, Vulavanga. Specifically the emotion of separation.
Separation.
Yeah, separation from Krishna takes prominence. All right, interesting. It takes prominence in the latter stages of sadhana. And it is a cultivation that Srila Prabhupada called upon these followers to engage in. The following sections will explore why and how such cultivation takes place. So why and how the cultivation of separation takes place. That's going to be now described. Okay. In the following pages, the terms Bhava-Seva and Ripalamba are sometimes used. How do you pronounce the word? Similar to mean the same thing.
Monthly.
Yeah. And sometimes differently. Oh, some Bhava-Seva is the all-encompassing concept of service with emotion, as well as the cultivation of spiritual emotion, which becomes specific in Nam Bhajan with Ripalamba, feelings of separation. Thus, Ripalamba is the mature development and goal of Bhava-Seva. So it's the goal of Bhava-Seva. The two are synonymous, that's the word. The two are synonymous. The former being part and the latter being the whole. Okay. When true feelings of separation fully manifest in a sadhaka, then it is understood that all other spiritual emotions follow. For this reason, we shall concentrate mostly on the cultivation of Ripalamba, the perfection and guardian of Bhava-Seva. All right? Interesting.
Prabhu,
Yes.
this
Yes.
Vipralambha bhav
Yeah.
doesn't last for a while. It only lasts for a few seconds. Or is that a reflection of somebody who is feeling that Vipralambha bhav, and you start feeling it sort of rubs on you? Could that be as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there will be times in our spiritual practice, even as sadhakas, where we will feel a profound sense of separation from Krishna. Yeah. But it may not be a prominent, ongoing emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or we may experience that, as you're mentioning, in association of advanced devotees when they speak about Krishna. You know,
Yes.
you may feel, you may share within their feelings of separation. Just I don't know why it's coming to mind. I'd mentioned the other day, I was in a class with Govinda Swami. This is in Coventry, and he spoke about a Leela of Radha and Krishna meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and he described in such a dramatic way, in such a beautiful way, that you actually entered into the feelings of Radha and Krishna when they met. So you may, for instance, by association of great devotees, you may enter into that. But as one advances to the actual stage of bhava, that will be an underlying permanent mood. It will be a permanent part of one's being, always hankering for Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
24/7.
When that day will be.
Yeah, but that's separation. Like, when will I feel? That's like feeling separation for separation. Feeling, so that's good. Feeling separation from that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Yeah. Okay. we begin by elaborating on how sadhana bhakti must be undertaken with feeling based upon the direction of a devotional, well-educated intelligence. All right. So although we're speaking about emotion, it doesn't mean it's not directed by spiritual intelligence. It's not, yeah, because emotion can be quite subjective, you know. Spiritual education is a must for both regulated and spontaneous devotees. While Raganuga Bhakti is inspired by natural attraction and not the order of Sastra and Guru, the process of awakening and cultivating greed is well established by scripture and dislipic tradition, both of which must be known and followed. Yeah, sometimes you see that, sometimes you may experience that where a devotee is in the wrong emotion. Yeah, at the wrong time, you know. It's a wrong emotion. It's not favorable. The way they're expressing themselves is not, for instance, if someone in the temple room or someone, a guest puts their hand up and they say, I saw Krishna last night, I heard Krishna playing the flute, then that's going to be an emotion which is going to be wrong and not based on spiritual intelligence. For someone to say that means they don't understand anything, you know. Well, they might, and yeah, they generally will. You understand? So sometimes you're going to experience that. Persons who have emotions, but it's not favorable. It's not in line with the cultivation of pure devotion. Although they may well be convinced it is, you know, and may well be convinced it is. It's not, yes. The essence of Srila Prabhupada's instructions on service in separation is that as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, our devotion must be saturated with feeling, the kind of feeling shown by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Srila Prabhupada's words, quote, so we have to follow the footsteps of the Goswamis, how to search out Krishna and Radharani, Vrindavan, within your heart. That is a process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's bhajan. Feeling of separation, Vripalamba Seva. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu feeling the separation of Krishna. He was falling down on the sea. He was coming out of his rest room or his bedroom and going out into the dead of night. Nobody knew where he has gone. That's what's that called? That place?
Gambira.
Gambira, yeah. He is gone. So that was his searching. This process of devotional service is taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya is showing and teaching this mood. Yeah? This is the standpoint of all our acharyas. Thakur Bhaktivinoda taught that the primary characteristics of sadhana bhakti was to hear, chant, and remember Krishna with an affection that is expressed through feelings of separation from him. Yeah? So hearing, chanting, and remembering. Why? Because we miss Krishna. Why do we chant Krishna's name? Because we want to be with Krishna. Yeah? Why? Yeah. Why do we remember him? Because we're feeling separation from him. It's nice to meditate on the fact that the reason you chant your rounds is because you're feeling separation from Krishna. Yeah.
That is remembrance, isn't it?
Sorry?
That is remembrance.
Just
That
explain a bit more. Yeah.
when we are chanting, we are hearing and chanting.
Yeah, and that's remembrance.
So that is remembrance, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
is there more to it?
No, what I'm trying to highlight is that at a certain stage, we pick up our bead bag and chant Krishna's holy name. Why?
Because
Remember
he's
him.
able, yes.
To please
Because-
him.
Well, because we're feeling separation from him. Therefore, we want to chant his name. You know, so it's just saying it's like a cultivate that, you know, it's there already. I mean, why do we come for darshan? Why? Because we're missing looking at Krishna's beautiful face. You know, so it's just you see how you can pick up your beads, and why do we pick up beads? Because we want to be with Krishna. I'm just kind of bringing it. I mean, we're doing that, but I'm just bringing it to the forefront that many of you, even unknowingly, are feeling separation from Krishna. Therefore, you're going to chant his holy name. Why? Because you feel separation. So therefore, I'm going to chant his name. Actually, I'm going to chant. That's round 16. It's not enough. I want to be with Krishna more. Let me chant another 4 rounds. That's not enough. I want to be with Krishna more. Let me chant another 16. Yeah, these are.
Look at it like that. I would just like you just saying, why do we come in front of Krishna? Because he's so beautiful, and everything, he looks so beautiful, nose, eyes, mouth, you know, his face is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then
So
that thing, when you saying that, okay, you finish 16, you think, oh, 1 more, 2 more, oh, right. I won't think of it as I am feeling separation. I just love doing it, like just to hear.
yeah. So I'm just trying to highlight
Out. Yes,
how we can help develop that mood. Is actually if we really think about it,
Mhm.
say if we didn't come to take darshan, you know, and the reason we come is we can identify it is because we want because we're missing to see him. You know, we are missing his association. So if you want, so Krishna manifests it in his holy name. So you can get Krishna's sangha if you listen to his holy name. So you can see how separation is the underlying, the underlying. It should be. That's why Marge meant it's there, Lord. It's there. It's underlying, you know, and we just have to recognize it's there and fan it more.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You think like that, yes.
Yeah, well, it's not Marge is inspiring us to, you know, Maharaj is reminding us of the importance of this mood, you know. And then when it gets really intense, and that's when Krishna comes on the tongue of a devotee, and that's when he manifests, because you're crying for Krishna. Yeah, I just read a quote the other day by Gaur Govinda Swami again. It's just a little quote, 1 sentence. I can't remember the details of it, but the essence I remember is that the devotee is asking a question about crying for Krishna. And Gaur Govinda Swami says, unless you cry, you cannot obtain Krishna. Unless you cry for Krishna, no one has obtained him. And he goes on in that point. So that means unless you're crying for his sweet sangha, and when you're in that mood, then Krishna comes, you know. Quite deep, isn't it? Amazing. All right. Any other questions from anyone here? Okay. It's amazing. There's only a few of us here, but you know, other devotees don't know what they're missing. I guess they do. They might be busy. Such nectar. Okay. Shall we continue? Yes. Okay. Okay. We read that. This is the standpoint of all our read that. Okay. Giving up karma and jnana are secondary characteristics of practice, which, when combined with the primary characteristic described above, lead to prema. When Gopakumar was in the realm of liberation and somewhat distracted by Pramananda, the Vaikuntha Dutas advised him to not only give up all ideas. So we're just reading that part at the moment, actually. For those who are taking part in that, this is exactly where we're reading. to give up all ideas of liberation, but to give up the formality of his Nam Bhajan. So the formality, just doing it out of formality. Gopakumar needed to learn to chant with feeling, with ecstasy, and not just out of a sense of duty. But this would only be possible once he was adept in knowledge of the 9 limbs of bhakti. By hearing Krishna's pastimes from devotees steeped in Srimad Bhagavatam, he would understand the nature of Raja's loving devotion and be competent to adopt that mood, the mood of separation. The Vaikuntha Duta's specific words were, quote, simply practice pure devotional service, mainly in the form of Nam Sankirtan, with the hope of gaining the eternal contact of the Lord's divine lotus feet. So, unquote, with the hope of attaining. So that's the emotional separation. Yeah. The words, with the hope of gaining the eternal contact, are significant in that they define both a distance between the worshipper and the worshipped, and the aspiration. I've just got to turn the light on here. Excuse me. And the aspiration the former should feel for the latter. That aspiration is a mood of separation in which resides a hope of a future meeting. Gopakumar did as he was told, and by the grace of his guru was able to achieve a semblance of perfection in Nam Bhajan, which then transported him to Vaikuntha. But understanding the nauseances of chanting in separation still escaped the boy. Only later, once in Dwarka, did Gopakumar receive further instruction from someone who witnessed the Rajrasi's ecstasies of separation, Sriman Uddhava Prabhu. Yeah, this is because I read this before, so I know what's. Maharaj will mention later that the way to development, one of the methods, the sadhana, to develop feelings of separation is to read about specific pastimes where the residents of Vrindavan are expressing their feelings of separation. Yeah. And that's like tadbhava. Then you hear about their emotions and you meditate upon that emotion. Yeah. So Maharaj will mention that lately as part of sadhana. Yeah. Uddhava explained that without utter humility, Gopakumar would be unable to awaken the kind of love he needed to enter Raj. Okay. So, again, we mentioned this point again and again. Sometimes devotees have this kind of vague Christian type concept, like Christians, they're all convinced they're going to heaven. We're convinced without no particular knowledge or development of these emotions that we're going to go back to Godhead. You won't go back to Godhead unless you emotionally want to go, unless you're feeling separation. It seems what Maharaj is saying here. Of course, Krishna can do magic. So, okay. A desolate feeling of emptiness known as separation could only arise in Palma Vrindavan, where Krishna remains unseen in the forests, rivers, and hills that were once his place of pastimes. Were Gopakumar to go there, to wander through that abode, he would gradually be overcome with lamentation. And with his heart burning with grief, he would begin to search here and there and everywhere for his beloved. That blissful misery of separation would then bring that blissful misery, okay? The blissful misery of separation would then bring him to his knees and submerge him in dainya, humility, the very elusive key to the Raj prema that was his birthright. Okay, there's a lot in there. It's amazing. This is the kind of separation that Lord Chaitanya's followers must acquire. To facilitate such acquisition, a devotee also receives Diksha mantras that are, that's the Gayatri mantras here, that are suffixed with words like prachodayat or swaha. So prachodayat means let me gain that, please let me, I aspire for, let me go there. Yeah, so with words like prachodayat or swaha, words which are meant to invoke separation and which invoke the need for sankalpa. In this way, Vipalamba Bhava-Seva defines the mood by which a devotee makes his determinations in advanced stages of sadhana. Okay, a couple of minutes left. Before proceeding further to understand the truths of Nam Bhajan in the mood of separation, it will be helpful to understand in some detail what are Vipalamba and its polar opposite, Sambhoga, meeting. The basis of relationship is love. In the divine realm of Vaikuntha, love is a purely spiritual exchange. But in the material world, that spiritual love is reflected as a mundane facsimile that knowers of truth have indifferently referred to as lust. We'll just finish this paragraph here, I think. Particularly these two paragraphs here. Material love reveals its joys when lovers are together, but is full of anguish when the lovers are apart. However, the longer lovers remain united, the more their love wanes. And so a husband and wife divorce, friends fall out, and parents and children go their separate ways. The reason for this is that, like all things worldly, material love is temporary. It becomes staid with time and generates and generally ends in unhappiness. Okay. By contrast, love for Krishna is the headspring of many wonderful sentiments. When a devotee is fortunate enough to gain Krishna's company, he tastes a joyous mellow called Sambhoga Sukha. And when the devotee is inevitably separated from Krishna, his love blossoms into a wonderful emotion that displays the symptoms of intense unhappiness, but gives the internal experience of a special transcendental bliss. This is Vipralamba. All right. I think that's enough to digest for one evening. So much is there.
It's far too much to digest. It's
but
amazing.
Anyway, digest what we can. I'm sure, something we heard is going to sink in, and the general. So think of that when you pick up your beads tomorrow, that the reason you're picking up your beads because you're feeling separation from Krishna and you want to be with him, So try that.
Yeah, and then the way you said too, when you're taking darshan, it's because you are feeling separation.
And now you're meeting some Boga.
Boga. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very careful though, because we don't. Yeah, anyway, I guess Marge will describe it more. These things are not cheap, so we want to develop these emotions in a correct way using spiritual intelligence. We don't want to. If, for instance, if the curtain, if one of you, I'm not saying, but curtains may open tomorrow. Oh, Krishna! And run towards the altar and jump on the altar and do something.
That the gates are
like
open
that,
and you go, oh, Krishna, let me hug you. I'm missing you.
Or you push everyone out the way and get to the front, So You have to, yeah. So anyway, Hare Krishna, got the idea. Okay, let's stop there. Thank you for joining us today, and Hare Krishna. So please join us for Bhagavad Gita tomorrow, for those of you who can. Still come in chapter 6. It's a different subject than this.
Different
Still it's
emotion.
wonderful. Yeah, still it's wonderful because Krishna's there. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Gaura Premanandi, Hare
Jai.
Shalom.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Atitaram
Jai
Bhava.
Karpa Charisma.